The last few years, the real estate market has become increasingly competitive with a shortage of inventory and an abundance of buyers. And the result has been, in many cases, multiple offers on properties, property selling super fast, property selling for over a list. Some people not being able to buy a home because they can't find what they want, or if they do, somebody else just bought it. Just frustration and difficulty and all that good stuff. And in the midst of all that, though, there are people who are doing super well, who are able to buy the home that they want and able to do it pretty easily. And so how to win in an uber competitive real estate market, and how you can be one of the elite group of buyers who's super successful. Well, most are failing. So, one of the key things that we've seen for the buyers who are successful is that, number one, they adopt tactics to beat the competition. Like there's a mindful, measured, calculated set of tactics that they take on to beat competition. And number two is that they're open and willing to adopting new approaches. Like they're willing to take on new approaches to win. One of the ones that we've seen that's pretty interesting is a strategy around the choice of buyer's agent. And what's interesting about this is that in the past, when people were choosing buyer's agents, the way they usually did it was they focused on choosing a buyer's agent that was an expert in the market where they wanted to buy a home, which of course is still a smart thing to do. You want somebody who knows the inventory, has access to it, knows the other professionals, knows the trends, basically is an expert in the area that you want to buy a home in. And also in the past, people have done things like, use the agent they worked with before, which is a great idea, or find new ones by referral, which is a great idea. All that stuff is great. The thing that a lot of people have added who are successful in the uber competitive real estate market is also choosing a buyer's agent based on their expertise at winning in that market. So not just are they an expert in the real estate in that market, but are they an expert in winning in that market? And if you were interviewing a buyer's agent that you were thinking of hiring and you wanted to assess that, you could do some things like ask about their stats. So for example, you could ask, hey, over the last 6 months, of all of your clients who wanted to own a home, how many have been able to do so? Like, what's the percentage, right? That would be a great question to ask. And another one, which is super great too, is to say, okay, well, of all the ones who bought a home, how many of those did that on the first or second offer, not the 10th, right? And there literally are people out there who've written 6, 8, 10, 20 offers and still don't have a home. So in evaluating a prospective buyer's agent, understanding their stats on how many people they've been able to help get into a home, and then what percentage they could do that quickly, just in 1 or 2 offers, is a great way of understanding whether that person is an expert at winning in that market. An additional thing is asking about the tactics that they use. Like, what are their strategies? Does that buyer's agent have a set list of strategies and tactics they're using to win? And those are really important questions to ask in choosing a buyer's agent right now. So beyond that, choosing a buyer's agent, the other thing that we've been noticing is that folks who are successful in this market are adopting a mindset of winning. Like they literally get a mindset that they're going to win. It doesn't matter how competitive the market is, they're going to win. And it's a very important thing for being successful. So, in the past, I think in buyer's markets of the past, you would hear people who bought a home bragging about like, oh, I got this great place and I only had to pay this for it. I got such a great deal, right? And every buyer wants that if they can get it, but this is a seller's market. And so the bragging rights now are a little bit different. The bragging rights now are, I got the house, I'm not one of the 12 people who didn't get it. Not so much what price I paid, but did I just get it? And so part of being the one who gets the house is adopting the mindset of winning. Now, there are a lot of specific strategies that go with that too. Most of the buyers who are successful, when they adopt the mindset of winning, they're willing to move quickly, and they're also willing to pay more than list price if needed. Now, there's a lot of people who get a little freaked out by that, maybe a little fearful, even defiant. I'm not going to pay more than, this market's, we're valued already, whatever, all those voices that you'll hear some people saying. But the ones who are successful are willing to move quickly, willing to pay more than list if needed. Now here's the thing. Your buyer's agent is the expert in the market, and your buyer's agent is going to let you know what's okay to pay, right? So part of it is that you have a professional you're working with who you trust implicitly and you communicate well with, and that person will let you know what's okay to pay. And when you have that person on your team, your job with this mindset is to be willing to move quickly and to pay more than list when needed. That is often part of this mindset that is helping people win, okay? The advantage to you of being the person who gets the home in an appreciating market is you're the one who now has an appreciating asset. You know, you're the person who has a home that should be going up in value, and it should be good for you financially. So there's a big advantage to this kind of market for being the person who actually gets the house. You know, and another strategy that we've watched successful people have in this market is the way that they look at the list price on a home. And so the way they look at a list price usually is they think about it more like the reserve price at an auction, right? So a lot of people, they'll look at a listing online and they'll say, okay, this is listed for so much money, right? And a lot of your competition is going to be looking at it that way. And then what you can do is you can think about it differently. You can say, okay, this is listed for X. That's like the reserve price at an auction. The reserve price at an auction is the minimum price that I know the seller's willing to let this property go for. It's not what it should sell for. It's just the minimum price I know they're willing to accept, just like the reserve price at an auction. And then your job with a buyer's agent is to know what's okay to pay and to be willing to do that if necessary, right? So thinking about this like the reserve price at an auction, not this is the price for this home, right? That's a subtle strategy that has been working really well for folks. And one thing I've noticed is that the people who are winning in this market are usually doing so by a nose, right? It's not that they're doing radically different things. You know, the people they're beating out, they're doing it just by a few little nuances. And so your willingness to adopt some tactics to beat the competition and new approaches can give you that edge. And one of them is looking at the list price more like the reserve price at an auction.